I found the receipt in his jacket pocket while searching for his insurance card. White paper, faded ink, but clear enough. Riverside Inn, room 237, November 14th. That was 3 weeks ago, the night he told me he was working late on the Henderson merger. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. I stood in our walk-in closet in Portland, Oregon, holding evidence of my husband's betrayal, and I felt nothing. Maybe shock has a way of numbing you before the pain arrives. David and I had been married for 12 years. High school sweethearts who made it through college, law school for him, nursing school for me. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. His partners at Morrison and Blackwell loved me. My colleagues at Providence Hospital adored him. We attended charity galas, hosted dinner parties, and smiled in all the right photographs. The receipt slipped from my fingers and floated to the carpet. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I did what any critical care nurse would do. I gathered data. I checked our credit card statements going back 6 months. The Riverside Inn appeared 4 times. Always on nights he claimed to be working late. Always charged to his personal card, the one I rarely monitored. Then I found the text messages. He'd been careless. Or maybe he wanted to be caught. His phone was on the kitchen counter while he showered. No passcode. He'd removed it months ago. Said it was inconvenient. I picked it up, and there she was, Claire with a red heart emoji. Tonight was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. When are you telling her? I'm tired of hiding. I love you. The messages went back 8 months. 8 months of I love yous and hotel rooms and promises of a future together. 8 months while I worked double shifts at the hospital, while I planned our anniversary trip to Hawaii, while I stupidly believed we were happy. David walked into the kitchen, towel around his waist, and saw me holding his phone. Emma, he said, just my name, not a question, not a denial. He knew. Who's Claire? My voice was steady, clinical, the same tone I used when delivering bad news to families in the ICU. He didn't answer immediately. Water dripped from his hair onto the hardwood floor we'd refinanced the house to install. I was going to tell you, he finally said. When? I placed his phone on the counter between us. Before or after you asked for a divorce? His face went pale. David sat down at the kitchen table, still in his towel. The absurdity of the moment wasn't lost on me. Discussing the end of our marriage while he was half naked, dripping pool water onto our expensive chairs. Her name is Claire Donovan, he said quietly. She's a paralegal at the firm. Of course she was. 20-something. Probably blonde. Definitely not pushing 40 like me. Not spending 12-hour shifts on her feet, smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion. How long? I asked. 8 months. At least he didn't lie. I supposed I should appreciate that microscopic shred of honesty. Do you love her? He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Guilt. But also relief. Relief that it was finally out in the open. I think so, he said. Emma, we've been going through the motions for years. You know we have. No, David. You've been going through the motions. I've been working double shifts to help pay off your student loans. I've been coming home to an empty house because you're working late. I've been planning our future while you've been planning your exit. That's not fair. I laughed. Actually laughed. Fair? You want to talk about fair? He stood up, defensive now. You're never home. When you are, you're exhausted. We haven't had sex in 4 months, Emma. 4 months. We don't talk anymore. We don't... So, this is my fault? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. You cheated because I work too much? I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying we're not happy. Neither of us. He was right about one thing. I wasn't happy. But I'd attributed it to stress, to the pandemic's aftermath still straining the healthcare system, to normal marriage struggles. I'd never imagined he was getting his happiness from someone else. I want a divorce, he said. There it was. The words I'd been expecting since I found that receipt, but hearing them out loud felt like a physical blow. Fine, I said, but you're sleeping in the guest room tonight, and tomorrow you're moving out. Emma, get out of my kitchen, David. He left. I heard the guest room door close upstairs. Then I sat at our kitchen table, surrounded by the life we'd built together, and finally let myself cry. I had no idea that in 72 hours, he'd be dead. The next morning, David was gone before I woke up. He'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Staying at a hotel. Will come by Saturday for my things. I'm sorry. Sorry. As if that word could erase 8 months of lies. I called in sick to work. The first time in 3 years. My supervisor, Patricia, didn't ask questions. Maybe she heard something in my voice. that hollow quality that comes after your world collapses. I spent the day doing what I should have done months ago, investigating. I wasn't just a betrayed wife anymore. I was a woman who needed to know exactly what she was dealing with before lawyers got involved. Claire Donovan's social media was semi-public. She was 26, blonde as I'd suspected, with perfectly filtered photos of morning lattes and sunset yoga poses. In 3 photos from the past 2 months, I spotted David's watch on someone's wrist at the edge of the frame. His Omega Seamaster, the one I'd bought him for our 10th anniversary. The rage that hit me was pure and cold. I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Screenshots of messages, photos of receipts, credit card statements. Oregon was a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity still mattered when it came to asset division, especially if marital funds had been used for the affair, and David had been stupid. The Riverside Inn charges were on our joint credit card, dinners at expensive restaurants, a weekend trip to Seattle I knew nothing about. He'd spent approximately $8,000 of our money on his affair. Our money I'd earned working overtime while he played house with his paralegal. I called Martha Hendricks, a divorce attorney I knew from hospital charity events. She could see me Monday morning. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I went into David's home office, his sacred space where I was never allowed, and searched. His laptop was password protected, but his filing cabinet wasn't. Inside, I found papers for a new apartment lease, starting December 1st. A 2-bedroom in the Pearl District, one of Portland's most expensive neighborhoods. $3,200 a month. He'd been planning this for weeks. Beneath the lease was a jewelry receipt from Tiffany's, a diamond necklace, purchased October 28th. Our anniversary was October 30th. I'd received nothing. I photographed everything. That night, David called. "I'm coming by tomorrow at noon to pack. Will you be there?" "I'll be here," I said. "Emma, can we be civil about this?" I almost laughed. "Sure, David. We can be civil." I had no idea that conversation would be our last. Saturday morning arrived with rain. Portland's typical November weather. Gray, cold, relentless. I'd barely slept, running through conversations in my head, imagining confrontations that would never satisfy the anger burning in my chest. David arrived at noon exactly, always punctual. He had that going for him at least. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, his usually perfect hair uncombed. Part of me felt satisfaction at his obvious distress. The other part, the part that had loved him for 17 years, felt something uncomfortably close to concern. "I'll just pack some essentials," he said, not meeting my eyes. "I can get the rest later. Take your time." I sat on the couch, coffee in hand, watching him move through our house like a stranger. He disappeared upstairs. I heard drawers opening, the closet door sliding, the sounds of a marriage ending, measured in hangers scraping and suitcase zippers closing. 30 minutes later, he came down with 2 large suitcases. "I've contacted Richard Pearson," he said. Richard was a divorce attorney, one of the best in Portland. Of course David would go straight to the top. "He'll reach out to your attorney next week." "Martha Hendricks," I said. "I've already retained her." Something flickered across his face. Surprise? Martha had a reputation for being ruthless. "Emma, I don't want this to get ugly. Then you shouldn't have cheated." I set my coffee down. "I found the receipts, David. The Riverside Inn, Seattle, the restaurants, all on our joint card. $8,000 of marital funds spent on your affair." His face went pale. "I didn't think—" "No, you didn't think. You also didn't think I'd find the lease for your new apartment. 2 bedrooms. Is Claire moving in, or is that just optimistic planning? How did you—" He stopped himself. "You went through my office. Your unlocked filing cabinet in our marital home." "Yes." His jaw tightened. The lawyer in him was emerging now, calculating, assessing. "We can negotiate this reasonably. I'm willing to be fair about assets." "Fair?" I stood up. "You want fair? I worked doubles while you built your career. I paid half your student loans. I gave up the head nurse position at Providence because you said the hours would be too much for our marriage. And you repaid me by fucking your paralegal. Don't— Get out, David." He grabbed his suitcases. At the door, he turned back. "I'll have Richard send over the preliminary paperwork. We can finalize this quickly if we both cooperate." "Drive carefully," I said. "It's raining." He left. 4 hours later, 2 police officers knocked on my door. "Mrs. Reeves?" The taller officer spoke first. His name tag read, "Detective Morrison. May we come in?" I knew before they said anything. Maybe it was the way they stood, the careful neutrality of their expressions. I'd delivered enough death notifications as a nurse to recognize the posture. "It's about David," I said. Not a question. "Yes, ma'am. I'm afraid there's been an accident." They sat in my living room, on the same couch where David and I had watched movies, had argued about whose turn it was to do dishes, had planned vacations we'd never take now. "Your husband's vehicle left the road on Highway 26, approximately 4 miles west of the tunnel. His car went down an embankment. The rain made the road slick, and it appears he lost control. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Reeves. He died at the scene." The words came at me through a strange fog. Dead. David was dead. When? My voice sounded distant, like someone else was speaking. "Around 4:30 this afternoon. A passing motorist saw the skid marks and called 911. 4:30. 2.5 hours after he'd left our house. Where had he been going? To Claire's? To his new apartment? We'll need you to identify some personal effects," Detective Morrison continued. "And we have some questions if you're up to it." Questions? That cut through the fog. The second officer, younger, with sympathetic eyes, spoke gently. "Standard procedure in any accident. We need to establish his movements today. His state of mind." State of mind. The phrase hung in the air. "He was here this morning," I said carefully. "He came to collect some belongings. We were in the process of separating." Morrison wrote something in his notebook. "What time did he leave?" "Around 12:30. "And his state of mind? Was he upset? Distracted?" I thought about David's face as he walked out, the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands had gripped the suitcase handles. "He was stressed," I said. "We both were. Divorce is difficult." "Did you argue?" The question felt loaded. I looked at Morrison's face, trying to read intention there. "We had words," I admitted. "Nothing physical, just the usual recriminations that come with ending a marriage." "Did he mention where he was going after he left here?" "No. I assumed to his hotel, or..." I hesitated. "He was having an affair with a woman named Claire Donovan. She works at his law firm." Morrison's pen paused. "You knew about the affair?" "I found out 3 days ago." The officers exchanged a glance I couldn't interpret, and that's when I realized I might be in trouble. "Mrs. Reeves, just to clarify." Morrison leaned forward slightly. "You discovered your husband's affair 3 days ago, confronted him, and he died hours after leaving your home following an argument about the divorce." The way he phrased it made my stomach drop. When you laid it out like that, it sounded incriminating. "That's correct," I said carefully. "But it was an accident. You said he lost control in the rain. We're still investigating the circumstances," the younger officer said. "The accident reconstruction team is at the scene now." "What does that mean?" Morrison closed his notebook. "It means we're determining exactly what happened. Skid marks, point of impact, mechanical inspection of the vehicle, standard protocol. You think someone tampered with his car. It wasn't a question." "We're not thinking anything yet, ma'am. We're gathering facts." Morrison stood. "We'll need you to come down to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. And we'll need access to your husband's vehicle records, maintenance history. Am I a suspect?" The question hung in the air. Morrison's expression didn't change. "Right now, we're treating this as a traffic fatality. But in cases involving recent marital conflict, we have to be thorough. I'm sure you understand." I understood perfectly. The betrayed wife, the heated argument, the convenient accident. It looked bad. After they left, I sat in the growing darkness and tried to process everything. David was dead, gone. The man I'd loved since I was 17, who'd betrayed me, who I'd been preparing to divorce, dead, and the police suspected me. I called Martha Hendricks. She answered on the third ring, irritation in her voice until I explained the situation. "Don't say anything else to the police without me present," she said immediately. "Nothing, not even casual conversation. Emma, I'm serious. This could get very complicated very fast. I didn't do anything. I believe you. But perception matters. And right now the optics are terrible. Scorned wife, impending divorce, substantial marital assets at stake. They're going to look at you hard. What about Claire, the mistress? Doesn't she have motive too? Possibly. But you had more to lose financially. Oregon's a no-fault state. But with evidence of his affair and misuse of marital funds, you stood to get a favorable settlement. His death changes everything." My blood ran cold. "The life insurance. How much?" $2 million. My voice barely worked. "I'm the beneficiary." Martha was quiet for a long moment. "We need to meet. First thing tomorrow morning before you talk to police. Emma, this just became a potential murder investigation. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw David's face as he walked out the door for the last time. Drive carefully. It's raining. Had there been something in my voice? Some edge the police would interpret as threat rather than routine goodbye? At 7 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Reeves? This is Claire Donovan. My hand tightened on the phone. The mistress, calling me the morning after my husband died. What do you want? My voice came out harsh, raw. She was crying. I heard about David. The police came to my apartment last night. They asked me questions about our relationship, about him, about you. What did you tell them? The truth, that we'd been together 8 months, that he was leaving you, that he loved me. Her voice broke. God, I can't believe he's gone. The audacity of her grief infuriated me. She'd destroyed my marriage and now wanted sympathy for losing a man who was never truly hers. Did the police ask about his car? I asked. Silence. Then, yes. They asked if I knew anyone who might want to hurt David. They asked about enemies, about his cases at the firm, about whether you knew about us. And I told them you found out 3 days ago, that David said you were angry but handling it reasonably, that he was confident the divorce would be straightforward. She paused. Mrs. Reeves, they think you might have done something to his car. I didn't. I know. Her response surprised me. David told me what kind of person you are. Principled. Honest. He said you'd never do anything like that, even after everything. It was surreal, hearing my dead husband's mistress defend my character. Then why are you calling me, Claire? Because there's something you need to know. Something the police don't know yet. She took a shaky breath. David changed his life insurance beneficiary 2 weeks ago. He made me the primary beneficiary. $2 million. The room tilted. What? He did it online, through the firm's benefits portal. I told him it was too soon, that he should wait until after the divorce was finalized, but he insisted. He said he wanted to protect me, to make sure I'd be taken care of if anything happened. My mind raced. David had changed the beneficiary, which meant I had no financial motive for his death. But Claire did. Have you told the police this? Not yet. The beneficiary change hasn't processed through the insurance company's system. It takes 30 days. But I have the confirmation email David forwarded me. I'm going to give it to them today. Why are you telling me first? Because once I tell them, they're going to look at me the way they're looking at you now. And I didn't hurt him, Mrs. Reeves. I loved him. Her voice cracked. But someone did something to that car. The police said the brake lines were cut. The phone slipped from my hand. Brake lines. Cut. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. And both Claire and I were suspects. I met Martha at her office at 8:30 a.m. She'd already had 3 cups of coffee and looked like she'd been working since dawn. The brake lines were cut, I said before I even sat down. Claire Donovan called me this morning. She told me. Martha's expression hardened. She shouldn't have that information. That means someone in the investigation leaked it. Or she knows more than she's saying. There's more. I explained about the beneficiary change, about Claire inheriting $2 million instead of me. Martha leaned back in her chair, thinking, that changes the financial motive significantly. But Emma, you need to understand something. The police are going to look at means, motive, and opportunity. You had opportunity. David was at your house hours before he died. You have mechanical knowledge from your father's auto shop. I haven't worked on cars since high school. But you know how brake systems work. The prosecution could argue that. She pulled out a legal pad. We need to establish your exact movements yesterday. Every minute from when David left until the police arrived. I walked her through it. David left at 12:30. I'd stayed home, doing laundry, watching television, dwelling on my anger. No witnesses, no phone calls, no alibi. That's a problem, Martha said bluntly. 4 hours with no corroboration of your whereabouts. I didn't leave the house. Can you prove it? Security cameras? Neighbors who saw your car in the driveway? Delivery drivers? I thought hard. I ordered Thai food around 2 p.m. from Bangkok Garden. They delivered at 2:45. That's something. We'll get the delivery records, the driver's statement. She made notes. What about David's car? Where was it parked when he came to get his things? In the driveway, in front of the garage. Could you see it from inside the house? From the living room window, yes. Did you go outside at any point while he was packing? No. I stayed on the couch the entire time. Martha tapped her pen against the pad. Here's what they're going to argue. David arrives at noon. You have a heated argument. Your words. Documented in your statement. He spends 30 minutes inside packing. During that time, You could have gone to the garage, accessed tools, and tampered with his car. He leaves, drives for a few hours. The sabotage takes effect on a dangerous stretch of highway in the rain. But I didn't. I know. But they're going to paint that picture unless we dismantle it piece by piece. She leaned forward. Emma, I need you to think very carefully. Is there anyone else who might have wanted David dead? I'd been asking myself the same question all night. His law firm is cutthroat. He was up for senior partner. That's $1 million position with profit sharing. There were 3 other attorneys competing for it. Names? Richard Pearson. Ironically, the attorney David hired for our divorce. Michael Chen. And Andrea Walsh. Any threats? Arguments? David never talked about work drama. He kept that separate. I paused, remembering something. Wait, about 6 months ago, David mentioned he was working on a case involving a real estate developer. Something about fraud, construction defects. The developer threatened to sue the firm for malpractice if they didn't drop the case. Developer's name? Marcus Brennan. Brennan Development Group. Martha wrote it down. We'll look into it. But Emma, you need to prepare yourself. The police are going to request a formal interview. They'll ask about your marriage, the affair, your financial situation, and they'll ask where you were yesterday afternoon. Should I take a polygraph? Absolutely not. Those aren't admissible and can be manipulated. She met my eyes. Right now, we sit tight, we cooperate minimally, and we let them build their case. Because here's the thing. If they arrest you, they have to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. And cut brake lines? That requires forensic evidence, surveillance footage, witnesses. Without those, it's all circumstantial. My phone buzzed. Detective Morrison. Need you at the station by 2 p.m. today. Bring your attorney. It's starting, Martha said. The interrogation room at Portland Police Bureau was exactly like the ones on television. Gray walls, metal table, uncomfortable chairs, and a mirror I knew was two-way glass. Detective Morrison sat across from me, a younger detective named Sarah Chen beside him. Martha sat to my right, her briefcase open, recorder running. Mrs. Reeves, thank you for coming in, Morrison began. We have some questions about the day of your husband's death. My client is here voluntarily, Martha interjected, and will answer questions to the best of her ability. Morrison nodded. Mrs. Reeves, you stated that your husband David arrived at your home at approximately noon on Saturday. Is that correct? Yes. And what was the purpose of his visit? To collect some personal belongings. We were separating. How would you describe his demeanor? I chose my words carefully. Tense. Uncomfortable. It was an awkward situation for both of us. Did you argue? We had a discussion about finances. I'd discovered he'd been using marital funds for his affair. I informed him my attorney would be addressing that in the divorce proceedings. How did he react? He became defensive. Said he wanted to handle things fairly. Detective Chen leaned forward. Mrs. Reeves, multiple neighbors reported hearing raised voices from your residence around 12:15 p.m. One neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, said she heard you shout, "Get out." My stomach tightened. I did say that. After he tried to justify his affair by blaming our marriage problems on my work schedule. Were you angry? Of course I was angry. My husband of 12 years had been cheating on me for 8 months. Angry enough to want revenge? Martha's hand came down on the table. Detective, unless you're charging my client with something, these fishing expeditions stop now. Morrison didn't blink. Mrs. Reeves, your husband's vehicle was parked in your driveway for approximately 30 minutes. Did you go outside during that time? No. Did you go into your garage? No. I remained on the living room couch the entire time David was in the house. Can anyone verify that? No. I was alone. Chen slid a photograph across the table. This is your garage. These are your tools. We executed a search warrant this morning. My blood ran cold. They'd been in my house. Among these tools, Chen continued, we found a pipe wrench and wire cutters. Both have been sent to forensics for analysis. I haven't touched those tools in years, I said. They belong to my father. He taught me basic car maintenance when I was 16, but I haven't worked on vehicles since. But you know how brake systems work? In theory, from 20 years ago. Morrison pulled out another document. Mrs. Reeves, we've also subpoenaed your financial records. You and David had significant debt, $180,000 in his student loans, a $450,000 mortgage. Your combined income was $285,000 annually, but expenses were tight. David's life insurance policy was $2 million. I'm aware of the policy, but I'm not the beneficiary anymore. Claire Donovan is. We've spoken with Ms. Donovan. Chen said. The beneficiary change was initiated 2 weeks ago but hasn't been processed. According to the insurance company, the change wouldn't be official until December 1st. Your husband died November 16th. Legally, you're still the beneficiary. The room spun. I didn't know that. So you stood to inherit $2 million, Morrison said. Money that would eliminate your debt, allow you to keep the house, give you financial security, and all you had to do was make sure David died before December 1st. I didn't kill my husband. Then who did? Morrison leaned back. Because someone cut those brake lines, Mrs. Reeves. Someone with access to his vehicle, mechanical knowledge, and motive. Someone who knew he'd be driving on Highway 26 in the rain. Someone who knew exactly what would happen. Martha stood. This interview is over. Unless you're arresting my client, we're leaving. Morrison stood too. We're not done investigating. Don't leave Portland, Mrs. Reeves. Outside in Martha's car, I finally broke down. They think I did it, I whispered. They really think I murdered him. The evidence is circumstantial, Martha said, but her voice wasn't as confident as before. Because we both knew circumstantial evidence had convicted people before. 3 weeks after the interrogation, Detective Morrison called Martha with news. The forensic analysis came back, Martha told me over coffee at her office. The tools from your garage showed no trace evidence linking them to David's brake lines. No metal shavings, no hydraulic fluid, nothing. Relief flooded through me. So I'm cleared? Not exactly. Martha's expression remained cautious. There's a complication. Your neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, the one who heard you arguing, she has a Ring doorbell camera. It captured footage from that day. My stomach dropped. What kind of footage? You, leaving your house at 12:18 p.m. You walked to the driveway, stood near David's car for approximately 2 minutes, then returned inside. At 12:30, David left. The memory hit me. I had gone outside, just for a moment, to get the mail. I'd been so consumed by anger and shock that I'd completely forgotten. I was getting the mail, I said. The mailbox is right next to where he parked. Can you prove that? I thought hard. I brought in a stack of mail. Bills, mostly. There should be time-stamped delivery confirmation. We already checked. Your mail that day included 2 pieces delivered Saturday morning. So your story checks out. Martha paused. But Emma, 2 minutes is enough time to access a brake line if you knew what you were doing. The prosecution could argue, but they didn't find evidence on my tools, because they may have been the wrong tools, or someone used different tools, or, she met my eyes, or someone else cut those brake lines. Over the next week, the investigation shifted. Claire Donovan's alibi fell apart. She'd claimed she was at her apartment all afternoon, but her building's parking garage showed her car leaving at 1:15 p.m. and returning at 3:30 p.m. She'd lied to police. More damaging, David's calendar showed an appointment with Richard Pearson at 4:00 p.m. that Saturday to sign the initial divorce petition. He'd been literally on his way to start the legal proceedings when he died, and Claire knew about that appointment because David had texted her, making it official today. Soon we can be together. If David signed those papers, the beneficiary change would be contested in divorce court. Claire stood to lose everything. But if David died before signing, while they were still married, she'd inherit $2 million. The DA's office arrested Claire on November 30th. Security footage from David's law firm parking garage showed her entering the building at 11:45 a.m. on the day David died, 30 minutes before he arrived at our house. She had a key card. She had access. She had motive. At her arraignment, she screamed that she was innocent, that someone was framing her. Her eyes found mine across the courtroom, desperate and pleading. I looked away. What Claire didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been the one to anonymously tip off Detective Morrison about her parking garage footage. I'd remembered David mentioning that Claire sometimes used his firm parking pass on weekends. One phone call to the building management, claiming to be David's widow requesting security footage for insurance purposes, and I had what I needed. I'd simply made sure the police looked in the right place. The case against me was officially closed on December 15th. Insufficient evidence. I inherited David's life insurance, $2 million. I paid off our debts, kept the house, and returned to work at Providence Hospital. People still whisper. At the grocery store, at the hospital, at charity events I used to attend with David. I can feel their eyes on me, their questions unspoken but hanging in the air. Did she do it? Did she cut those brake lines? Did I? I never touched David's car that day. I swear I didn't. But I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it. In those dark hours after discovering his betrayal, I'd imagined revenge in 100 different ways, and when I walked to that mailbox, stood next to his car, felt the rage burning through me. 2 minutes is a long time, long enough to ruin someone's life, or end it. I'll never tell anyone what I was really thinking in those 2 minutes. Some secrets are better left buried, along with the people who drove you to consider them. David wanted a divorce. He got his freedom, just not the way he planned. Thank you for watching until the end. Your support is very important. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.